Hello, I'm Amy, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about animal abuse in the homes of the U.S. citizens. So, my main purpose today is to just inform everybody about the abuse that's actually taking place to all of our furry friends, and how we can prevent that by putting routine background checks being mandatory for any potential animal owner. That way we can point out those red flags and give our furry friends the safest environment possible for them. Obviously it's not bulletproof, but it can also really be a main thing that could keep our animals safe. So today I want to share with you some statistics, and it says 7.6 million companion animals enter shelters nationwide every year, and 2.7 million of those animals are actually adopted out. And out of the 2.7 million, 1.2 million, a little under a half of our animals actually experience animal abuse. And that means that almost half of all animals that are adopted in the U.S. experience some sort of animal abuse, whether that be water, lack of water, lack of food, or actual physical abuse being given to that animal, whether it's a dog, cat, you know, some type of physical abuse to those animals. And so they're experiencing that in their forever homes. And I feel like that we as animal lovers, we have to do something to actually prevent these animals from experiencing that. That's not fair to them. They don't have a voice, so we have to be the voice for them. We have to be the ones that stand up and set things in guidelines to give them the best possible future that they could have. And so I was doing some research, and I found that there are actually a few things that Humane Society experts have narrowed down, some red flags that you can see a common denominator in animal abuse. One of the main common denominators are anyone with a very violent past, such, for example, someone who may have committed child abuse or even spouse abuse. They find that many people who actually commit animal abuse has also committed some type of abuse towards a human. And one of their main statements was that if you can't value a human's life, many people devalue the lives of an animal. So if you have some type of violent background, why against someone who could actually retaliate, a human, then why would you not be abusive to someone who has no voice, has no way to retaliate to you? I mean, obviously, yes, someone could bite you back, but they can do little harm to a human with the weapons that they could, you know, come against them with. And so it shows that with a violent background, that many animal abuse claims come from a person who has actually experienced or committed some type of violent action towards a human. So with that background check, you could see that red flag. You could see that this person is a violent person, and maybe we shouldn't give that animal to them, you know? Another thing that we have found is that, let me go here, is that something, another common denominator was that mental disorders. When you are mentally unstable, you don't really know what you're doing. One of the main mental disorders that they say that they find animal abuse with is someone who has a hoarding disorder. Obviously, we know hoarding is keeping a lot of stuff around. You know, I think there's a show on TV, and it's called Hoarders, and you see when you go into these people's homes, they have tons of like books or tons of cat food or tons of animals. Well, when you have a maximum amount of animals, more than likely these animals are not getting the treatment that they need versus medical care, versus the food that they need, the water they need, because there's so many of them, you don't have all the supplies to give them. And so we see that a common mental illness that animals experience abuse with is if someone has a hoarding disorder, and if that is on their background check, we can see that, you know, this person is not mentally stable to be released this animal, that this person could more than likely commit some sort of abuse to this animal. Maybe not because they do not like the animal. Maybe not they're going to do a physical abuse to this dog. They're going to go and they're going to hit it. No. More than likely, we see in mental cases that they aren't able to provide the needs. Whether they have this hoarding disease where there's just so many, or whether they are not mentally stable to hold a job to support this animal that they're going to bring alongside of them. And more than likely a sheltered animal has already been pulled from a bad background. So to give that over to someone who can't actually provide for their needs is just putting them back in the same environment that they were in. And when you have that background check in place, making it mandatory, saying we're gonna stand up and stop this before it gets out of hand, because you know, every life is valuable, not just our own, and animals' lives are just as valuable as a human life. Obviously, you know, human life is it can be held above them, because I understand that, but we have to do our best to keep them safe, to give them the best environment that they need. Moving on, the only way we can secure a safe home and a safe environment for these animals is to put these background checks in place. That is the only way you can actually do your best. Many times we see a problem and we only want to fix a problem that elevates itself. We don't want to fix the problem before it happens. And see, we have lots of animal rescue shelters who will go in and they'll rescue these dogs from hoarding, or they'll rescue these cats from abuse and not being fed. But why would you wait until it gets that issue when you could put this background thing in check, and you could potentially find the red flags that are staring right at you and prevent anything from even going as far as that? When you can put a prevention plan in, that's really the best way to do something, because you can prevent the harm from already being placed. Obviously, some positive and negatives about this would definitely be that yes, it's not 100% bulletproof. You know, there are outside border dogs, people that breed them. They're outside breeders. And you can go and you can buy a dog from an outside breeder, but if we make it mandatory in our on-site stores, PetSmart, any type of on-site store, or shelters in the U.S., we can, over half of the animals that are actually adopted out are from on-site stores or shelters. And that means that we can make the biggest impact that we can. Obviously, no, you're not going to be able to save every animal. And obviously, not every background check is going to come up and there's going to be a red flag and you give that and they still commit animal abuse. Obviously, there's not bulletproof things, but if we're not even trying, you know, then these animals have no hope. Well, at least we can try to secure the best possible environment for them. It's the effort. It's not really what you gain from it. It's just the effort that you put forth, that even if it's just 2 or 3 animals that you have helped prevent, you've still made an impact, and that grows upon each other throughout the process, if you will. Something that I have learned with this, and the reason I really have a heart for this, is because my sister, my own personal sister Kelly, she is an animal shelter manager, and she lives above the shelter, and she works with adopting out animals daily. And they had an average of 20 out of 80 animals that they would adopt out before they had a background check. 20 out of those 80 would experience some type of animal abuse and end up right back into the shelter. Until they put the background check in place, until they made sure that they went the extra mile to keep these animals safe, now it is 10 out of 20, cutting that, 10 out of 80, sorry, cutting that in complete half, saying that these animals are getting the best possible thing, and even though it's not bulletproof, even though it's not solid concrete, it is still making a difference today. And so today I just spoke to you about the fact that we need to put background checks in place on on-site stores and on animal shelters in the U.S. so that we can give the best possible future home to these animals. And I hope that today you would rise up with us and that you would get on the movement, that we could save these little animals. They need homes, they need friends, they need us. So we're going to be there for them. Thank you.
Yeah.